do we need to watch language?
Oh,
no.
Okay, just curious. Figured no, but
no.
okay. I don't know how much cursing there
This
was.
is played in preschools.
If you're a 13-year-old listening to a beer
2-year-old might be
podcast, you've already got some issues, or you're the coolest 13-year-old
Right.
ever.
That's right.
Either way.
No, when my daughter's 13, she's going to be probably
she's
a better
2
brewer.
right now,
Yeah,
but-
she's 2, but she'll be a better brewer than I think most people in the U.S.
Yeah.
We'll make sure of it.
Like, she's going to know her chemistry.
Oh,
exams.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know what 3 mole is.
Yeah.
I just want her to walk into a brewery and look across the bar and be like, I should have diacetyl rested.
That's awesome. Jack goes.
In my old Kentucky home. Kentucky.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Kentucky Commons Radio Hour.
Thank you for joining us. We are joined by the owners of Louisville's newest brewery, Noble Funk. You guys are, give me what's the address over there?
It's 922 South 2nd Street.
922 South 2nd, in the old Kroger building, as people say, but it's been 10 years since it's been a great
I can't wait for that to die.
I know.
I can't, no.
17 it closed.
No, I honestly love that because people know where it is.
Exactly.
That's the good
Yep.
part
Really?
about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our marketing people are like, don't do that. Really? It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
But for the folks who haven't gotten to meet you guys yet, you just want to say your names and then brief introduction of, kind of what led you all down this strange path.
I'm John Shrader, and this is my wife.
I'm Dominique Shrader. And you want to do your 3 years ago speech?
Yeah, do you have a good brew elevator pitch or whatever?
No, it actually is just a rant.
It's over 10 minutes.
Hour-long rant.
Proceed.
Drunken
We
rant.
like rants.
Yeah, totally.
But no, actually, to be perfectly honest, I'm an engineer out of Purdue, and we were living in Chicago. We moved from here to Chicago after college, and
I got cold.
yeah, and
You weren't cold in Chicago?
No, I said I got cold. In
Oh,
Chicago.
okay.
After 7 years, I was like, I'm good.
and pretty much I was trying to figure out what I want to do for the rest of my life. We're youngish. We were young.
Yeah, I know that feeling too.
And if we're going to be working every day for the rest of our lives, you might as well enjoy it.
I agree, yeah.
So, biomedical engineering really wasn't coming to Louisville, Kentucky anytime soon. So I got this kind of crazy idea, started home brewing because I was interested in it.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, she hated it. We had
Did beer get you through residency or?
There was.
I remember my dad was home brewing when I was like 6 years old, and he would float. Yeah, he would float old bottles in the bathtubs. And as a kid, of course, child labor. You got to have the kids rip the labels off of.
100%.
Everybody smells like bleach, and it's a fun time. But that kind of imprinted on me, and and
Put me through that.
yeah, brewing beer is engineering. So yeah, we did a number of batches in our small 1-bedroom apartment in Chicago.
We had some exploding bottles.
Mhm.
That
Yeah,
was fun.
absolutely.
God
Absolutely.
had those boilovers. Every time he would walk out, he'd be like, just don't let it boil over. Inevitably, it would.
Every single time.
Every single time.
That's what we always tell people in our classes is like an unwatched pot never boils, or a watched pot never boils, rather. But if you're brewing beer, an unwatched pot will absolutely boil
Absolutely
over.
boil
It's
over.
like a law of the universe, I think.
Will not fail.
Absolutely. And so I think in 2012, 2013, I went to Siebel, which is a brewing school in Chicago.
That's awesome.
Been, they've been training brewers for over 100 years for a lot of the big guys. And
Yeah.
more recently, they kind of did some craft stuff. So I got a bachelor's in brewing technology from there. Went to Germany with part of their program. Kind of learned a lot of stuff in Germany. Met a lot of great people. And then started trying to transitioning to doing this full time.
That's awesome. And you guys really did, go pretty big for starting up. You guys have a great facility over there.
We lived in Chicago after we lived in Chicago, we moved to Florida, and I worked in a lot of small, closet-like breweries on 1 and 2 barrel systems.
We have a few of those in Kentucky.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when you brew in 105-degree Florida weather in a closet, you kind of figure out what you want. And
Totally.
what are nice things. And if you're going to spend the money, try to do it the best you can.
Yeah, well, you'll build a beautiful brew house back there. It's fantastic. And that building has just got a whole new lease on life at this point, which is just fantastic.
A lot more natural light, which is good. We're trying to make this space very alive, which is
So you want to walk us through kind of the development of Noble Funk as a brand? Where did the name come from? That's a question people are...
A good friend of mine from Florida was using it for kombucha projects.
Okay.
And, he likes fermented things like kimchi and things like that. And so, we'd gone over 100 names.
Oh my God, that name discussion. It's like
Yeah.
nobody likes anything.
Just
and
the worst.
Yeah.
Because, there's 8,000 plus breweries. There's another 8,000 wineries. There's all these brands, and you don't want to cease and desist.
Yeah, right.
Yes,
exactly.
And so, you start putting random things that don't mean anything together, and then you hope one, just pops up.
I think there's actually, if you Google it, a craft beer name generator.
Yes.
And you just click
I'm
through
sure.
it. Yeah. And
I'm
there's
sure.
there's 4 different categories. And the more you click, the more it just randomizes. And yeah. Not that that's what you did, but.
Well, but that's the thing.
That's how saturated it is, as far as you only have so many adjectives, descriptors, things. I mean, we have 1020. That's literally 2 numbers.
Yeah.
Right.
It's super random, but also it's 2 numbers.
Well, you go simple like Butchertown, and then you get a cease and desist letter too. So
Yeah.
And there's a brewery now in Chicago called 1090. So it's it's like
Just start going down the list. and then
numbers.
you get to A1 brewery, A2 brewery.
It's like hurricane names or something at some point.
And so you mentioned kombucha earlier. There's a tie to kombucha as well in this, right?
Wow.
We own Kentucky Kombucha.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who worked with my mom as a nurse got us in touch with the previous owners, but also our business partners. Still, we kept them on as business partners. They were moving to Hawaii to work on an organic fruit farm.
I know those guys. That sounds about right.
And
That's awesome,
they were
actually.
trying to kind of figure out what to do with the business. And they're like, oh, do you want any kombucha stuff? And we're like, well, what do you got?
They got scobies.
They had
lived in our dining room.
They lived in our dining room for a long time.
You lived in their dining room.
Yes.
We shared a space.
And I kind of got into kombucha. My friend who also came up with the name Noble Funk, he was into kombucha in Florida. So he would put all crazy Florida fruit, jackfruit, rambutan, all sorts of crazy things into his kombucha. And so at first I started drinking it. And it's real hippie, real muddy,
Clear you
tore you up.
I was about to say,
Tore
this
you
is-
up. But once he started refining it a little bit, it got clean. We started drinking it more and more. We liked it. And when they said, oh, do you want any of this stuff? We're like, well, what about the business? And so,
That's awesome.
They sold us the business. It took a while to get back up and running, but
Then COVID happened.
COVID happened. But to be honest, we've been doing well with it. We're rebuilding a following for it, trying to ferment very clean. With a brewing background, you want things to be clean, and kombucha tends to be a little muddy. So we try to, it drinks a little more like a soda now.
Yeah, that's great.
Highly carbed, a little on the drier side, nice and crisp. So
We're also really excited that some of the breweries in town are now putting in their tap rooms. Against the Grain is carrying it in bottles, and they had it at their sandwich shop. And then 1020 just started putting it on.
Nice.
So there's been a few folks that are picking it up. So we really
West
excited
6
about
used to
that.
carry us a lot.
Yeah, in Lexington they did.
Yeah,
too.
it's great to
So,
see just other options at breweries too, especially if it is
Exactly,
something like fermented and brewed. I mean, there's
Have you been
just as much art that goes into that stuff
So
as there is
And
beer.
non-alcoholic.
So I was going to say, we've been harping on the last few weeks. All 3 of us did a valiant effort with Dry January.
Hey,
and when you all opened,
yeah.
when I came, I wasn't drinking your beer.
Yeah,
no
that's
offense.
fine.
I was
Hey,
just, I was
perfectly
just
fine.
very
That's fine, yeah.
hard staff on no, I'm only going to drink.
And then you went to
this.
Colorado.
And then I went to
Oh,
Colorado
yeah.
over
Yeah.
last week, and I was like, all right, well, here we go.
Okay. It's okay.
But no, I appreciated the fact that you all had kombucha there. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, fantastic.
And actually, we've been asked a lot for low, non-alcoholic,
Yeah,
really low alcoholic beers
Beers,
recently.
Yeah,
So we'll see.
we'll talk about that soon.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh-oh.
So describe your brewery, though. I mean, what does that space look like, the brewing operation space, and then also the tap room atmosphere?
So she and I kind of designed the brewing space, the operation space. And her mother, who is in commercial real estate, had the idea for kind of the tap room and common area space. The common area space is, very clean lines, a little bit industrial chic, mixed with Rainforest Cafe.
Nice.
So
I like it.
every table comes with a salad on it is the joke that I always
The green wall pieces were sitting on tables for a while, and she was like using it as decoration. So we were like,
yeah,
"Get your own
we've got
salad."
AstroTurf tribbles
Yeah.
floating around, all sorts of weird. There's turtles
Next week,
and
the
alligators.
bunnies are coming. I'm not going to tell you what that means, but you should come check it
sorry?
out. The bunnies are
The
coming.
bunnies
next
are
week.
coming
Just
to Noble
check
Funk.
it out.
Yeah.
This summer.
Come
We have
see
no
it.
idea. We have
Before
no idea.
Easter, they will be here.
That's
Don't
awesome.
worry.
So
I am intrigued.
That is what we call a teaser.
it is.
That's what gets people in the door.
Tap room's about 13,000 square feet, give or take. We kind of spread everything. Luckily, being closed during COVID, we could kind of redesign things to be a little more efficient and COVID friendly. So we're pretty well spread out.
Yeah,
We've got
that's really nice.
couches.
It's massive.
Well, compared to, we wanted something smaller.
I mean, but the thing is, like you said, you don't have to anticipate spreading out. It's built
It
into
is
the
built in,
space.
right.
And that's a huge advantage.
And anything you invest in that property over there too is just like so needed and whatnot. I think having a big community space at that neighborhood will be huge for university students.
Spalding's been big on having a space that they can bring their students into.
Yeah, that's great.
So we're implementing a system with them so that we can use their cards and their different things to kind of
Food, not alcohol. But
right.
Right, yeah.
But there's also, Spalding also for the longest time has had a lot of master's programs.
Mhm.
A lot of night schools. So we're seeing those groups come in, and those people are over 21, so of course they can have a few beers and talk about topics of the day.
I went to college in Lexington, and the year I left was the year that West Sixth and Country Boy opened down there. So man, I would have loved to have a good tap room.
You're
to go
showing
sit
your
at.
age.
So 10 years ago.
Yeah, I would have loved to go be able to have a beer at a brewery near campus or whatever. But we'd go to Pazos down there.
And what about the brewing systems that you have?
So we got our system from Deutsche out of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Nice.
Great guys. They own a factory in China where they send their engineers and engineer their own system. So
That's
the stainless is fantastic. The space is about 5,000 square feet, give or take. We have room to grow, so we're looking to get up to 6,000 barrels.
That's awesome. Wow.
It's really wide open. I've worked in places where there's
You said it's
closets. I've worked in places where there's sinkholes.
Yeah.
So when your drains kind of go into a sinkhole, you've got a real problem in a brewery. When your forklift gets stuck,
That's not ideal.
no. So we kind of figured out what we didn't want, and then kind of
No sinkholes.
no sinkholes, drains,
Got a new floor.
Right? Yeah, we cut a whole new pad,
Nice.
nice
All
stainless steel
All
drains.
those drains are stainless.
It's nice to be able to kind of start just with a clean canvas, basically.
And the
instead of having
Kroger gave us that, which was nice.
Sure.
The infrastructure was there. The drainage was there. We had a 2,000 amp service from 1980 that we're still
That's
using.
crazy. Wow.
That's phenomenal. Rock star electric.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that we had to change, but there was a lot of things that were intrinsically already there that just allowed us to build bigger and build for the future.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
So speaking about things that were already there, when you talk about like the university and everything, for the neighborhood, this is like a new concept for kind of that area of town.
Yep.
And going into that space, which was, a grocery store a million years ago. But like, did you guys have any thoughts about like how going into, because we always talk about how there's like some sort of congestion around Louisville breweries being in like, downtown area. And now you guys are, every time one opens up outside of that little space, you kind of,
it kind of connects the dots.
you bring the legs out. So like you guys are enhancing this whole thing. So now you guys are like the next closest brewery to like Old Louisville.
Yeah.
Old Louisville.
Yeah.
Well, we connect Old Louisville and Atrium to everything else.
Right.
And what's nice is we've noticed, the younger crowd. And we're not super old, but we are in our 30s. The younger crowd likes to jump around a lot. Her sister's, 20, 21.
She's not quite 20.
And, they like to just go to different places all the time. My sister's, 27 and she's getting her master's. And, when she goes out, she goes somewhere for a drink or two and then goes to the next place, goes to the next place, and goes to the next place. So as you said, being able to connect the dots and bring everything together, allows, I think Louisville to kind of have a more interconnected scene.
So Louisville is a city of neighborhoods.
Yep.
Do you think that the trend for breweries is that there's no longer the neighborhood brewery, but rather the neighborhood brewery hopping of like, okay, we're going to go to this neighborhood and check out Gravely, and then we're going to go tomorrow to Third Turn, and then back to Old Louisville or Sobro?
And you all, having lived in Chicago and Florida, probably understand a lot more about the neighborhood hopping.
Yes,
for sure. Like, hey, we can hit here. But
well, she used to yell at me for that. So yeah,
not anymore.
We'll wait. We'll see. But no, it used to be like in Florida, since I brewed in Florida for 5 years, and in South Florida, I knew almost everybody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so you go somewhere and you see somebody, and then, there's a brewery, 4 blocks away. So you go to that one.
Yeah.
And then you see somebody else and they say they're going to this other one. So then you drive a mile to go to the next one. And then, the next thing you know, it's 8 o'clock and you started going out at 2.
Yep.
And you're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So,
it feels like Louisville's getting to that tipping point where that's feasible to do just because there's so much stuff in a concentrated space.
I think what's nice about Louisville is that a lot of the younger generation is moving farther in.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming back.
Absolutely.
And so that allows these spaces to serve more community.
Yeah.
And I think people are looking to kind of share community.
I think so too.
So I'm excited. I'm really excited. And the other thing is also the nice part of why we like Sobro. Rent was cheap.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. But also more importantly, there's just so much potential in the area. There's a lot of warehouse buildings,
beautiful buildings
that can fit and that have parking. I mean, we are lucky to have a ton of parking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And our kombucha production facility is down the street from it. It's a block away from Atrium.
On Shelby or Logan.
On Logan.
Yeah, it's hard to find parking there.
It's luckily Atrium just got a new, bought the lot right next to them.
Little tire store.
Yep. So they've got a little bit of parking.
Oh, did that go through? I don't even know.
Yeah, they're gutting it. They're gutting it. They're putting it in their cooler.
They're storing some beer in our coolers too.
So we talked to them quite a bit.
Oh, that's great.
They're doing great. But I think as young people start to realize, hey, this is a cool job, and people want to do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think every neighborhood's going to have 2 or 3, and they're going to be so interconnected.
That's kind of my utopia for Louisville. I moved down to the Shelby Park neighborhood around 3 years ago. Yep. I knew Logan Street was in planning. I knew. Well, I had no idea about Atrium.
They kept it quiet.
They did.
Snuck in there.
Despite being,
I worked with Spencer, and he was very quiet about things.
Despite being very good friends with some key players there, it was definitely kept under wraps. But you look and like things have expanded east, and that's kind of all done. And like the only way is to go west and south, and so.
Yeah. Or to reimagine spaces.
100%.
100%.
The other thing that's
look at Nulu 7 years ago.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Well, her mom had buildings in Nulu since like the 90s when people were getting shot and it was rough. So
we used to go play pool at Bank Shot.
Down
there.
Yeah.
It was like
Mom's office is right
not
down
where we
from
should
there,
have been.
We lived down there for 3 years. We know all about it.
Yeah.
And Nulu's fun, but people getting priced out.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh,
yeah. R.I.P. Louisville Beer Store.
Yeah.
Love them.
Yeah. But the thing is, in theory, they are reopening right there next to Grail.
The Grail goods. Yeah.
So
it's just like you say, it's great to see. Because everything comes in cycles and everything comes in waves. And Bardstown Road was the big main corridor when I was a kid. And then I guess, after that, Frankfurt Avenue had a little bit of a renaissance, and then it seemed like it moved into New Lou.
I love Frankfurt Avenue.
Yeah, me too.
Yes.
We would hang out there all the time as well.
Great. In there
And then
anyways,
past few years, like Germantown, Schnitzelberg has been booming. And then like now it seems like that's kind of Shelby Park.
Yeah, Old Louisville's got a lot of good spaces.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
And it's funny though, because we've just described places that are within 2 miles of each other.
Right.
And there's no way that this place is going to be saturated until there are multiple breweries in Shively and PRP.
Right.
And there's so much potential still.
Yes.
Sure.
But the other thing, I think what's more important than anything is the distribution model has changed.
Yeah.
So,
especially in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
I mean, here
It's a big
especially, I was in Chicago, in 2010 to 2014, 2015. And I mean, there were 90 breweries.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow.
So it was more they did distribution, but it's how much beer can you sell over your counter?
Yeah.
When we went to Florida, it was kind of flipped. It went, how much big distribution, are you going to the big AB house and, how much funky Buddha can you push?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and since, the AB house is pushing funky Buddha, all these other brands are trying to get in. And the distribution model has changed. There's so many brands, there's so many breweries that realistically, now people are going to the source.
Yeah.
And so now we can I've met so many homebrewers who want to start a brewery and they're looking at 20 barrel systems.
Have you ever met a homebrewer that wants to start a brewery, John?
Have you ever met one that doesn't?
Right. I've met like two that don't because either they have good jobs or they realize how much it's going to cost.
They're not masochists.
I'm in the minority of I've made beer. I know that other people can do it better and I'd much rather pay for it.
So does Noble Funk have any plans for distribution or even maybe packaging for retail over the counter?
So we've got a crowler machine, which is a step in the right direction. I need to find another $250,000 for a canning line at some point.
Good luck.
That should be no problem.
So let me you do have the space for it.
Yes.
So the next step is that something that you're interested in doing?
And we bought, we have an extra room that I'm storing all my grain in right now. That was originally going to be a sour cask room.
Nice.
I was going to buy like 3 or 4 foeders and kind of do all that.
No, I'd like you to do that.
Well,
maybe we will.
We didn't have the kombucha space at that point.
That's true.
So I'd rather ferment all that stuff in my kombucha space that's
already
sour.
Right.
Fair. Then
we'll do some sour.
But the room itself actually lends itself real nicely for a canning line. And I already kind of bought a 15 barrel Bright that's sitting in there empty. That was going to be 4 sours. Just might be for canned beer.
Heck yeah.
So
awesome.
We're going to move in that direction. How fast we move, I don't know.
I mean, you just opened like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
so you don't have to answer that question yet.
I'm like, God,
She's like, how much is this going to cost me?
I gotta pay these bills right now.
Right. We're just trying to sell enough beer to pay our staff a living wage.
Pay the bills.
Yeah.
I guess it kind of goes back to my question earlier about the neighborhood brewery and whatnot. I guess it's like, okay, if you open up in Louisville right now, is your mindset and mentality, we got to get to Kroger shelves?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so
not even close.
Exactly. So it's the idea of neighborhood brewery, but also one that packages for consumers to take to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or bars, restaurants,
or self-distro,
kegs.
self-distro kegs. Yeah, sure.
I think anybody who gets into the game now has to be multifaceted.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you have to be able to adapt,
right?
And if the last 2 years taught us anything, it's adaptation is key.
And you have to build. I mean, the brewery that I worked at, one of the breweries I worked at in Florida, just closed its doors.
Wow.
Well, I mean, not entirely. He is no longer producing beer. He is now contracting his brews for somebody else. But basically, his lease went up and they jacked his rent up and he just wasn't seeing the sales for it.
Yeah, I hate to see that.
Well, yes and no.
It's common. That more and more these days.
But the thing is, though, survival of the fittest. You got to have a good business model. You can't make too many enemies.
Yeah.
But the passion, is like any passion project. I'm just a diehard.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'll bleed out for that. So like
I get it.
You say that and like, oh well, they're contracted. I'm like, oh, well, it's gone. The passion's out.
It's done. It's done.
It's
over.
over. It's done.
That's a label on a can.
But the thing is, even when you're contract, I mean, some brewers are there, on a regular basis tasting their product.
Right.
A lot aren't.
Yeah, there's that absentee owner phenomenon.
Well, there's like geographic restrictions too. Like there's breweries in Louisville that contract out of Ohio.
Sure.
And like it makes sense economically and everything. Yeah. But like, are you going to send a brewer up twice a week to go taste that? I mean, I
would.
I'm sure.
As an owner, I would drive.
Yeah.
As an owner, I would drive.
Sure. I'm not saying anyone is or isn't for clarity.
No, of course.
But
but if it were me, I'd be like, yeah, I'm going up to taste the beer. And she'd be like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow.
So that's what we call an ulterior motive.
No.
Business trip.
I'm like, do you want to take the 2-year-old with you?
Yeah. Cincinnati has a lot of good restaurants, Gotta
Hoffer House, great restaurant.
I would be
Mecklenburg
in the
Gardens?
car, let me tell you.
Dude, Mecklenburg is awesome. Oh man, I went to I nerd out over Stein collecting.
Yep.
We used to have Stein collector meetings there.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's a really weird.
That's a Michael Muller statement right there.
All
Hey,
right.
do what you gotta do, man. No judgment.
Did you drink beer foam out of your
But
steins?
just to be clear, it is the German American Club, but indoors.
Right.
Yeah.
It is huge.
Yeah.
And there's also a good Bengals watch party bar. Shout out to Bengals playing for the AFC Championships this Sunday.
Which is surprising,
We did get the Bengals game on last weekend,
Nice.
which was like a little tense there for
Yeah, we get a lot of calls. Do you guys have the games? And I'm so terrified.
I don't know.
I'm so
not gonna
terrified
promise.
that my TV's going to go out
We
and
have-
that we're going to have people burning down the building.
By the time this podcast comes out, we will know whether or not the Bengals have won or lost in advance of the Super Bowls.
Alrighty.
That's scary to me. Don't want to talk about that anymore. All right.
So like
Moving
steps
on.
to opening a brewery or 1, buy tanks, 2, brew beer, 3, make sure the
sure you
games
got
are
football.
on.
Three talk to DirecTV for Red Zone.
I'll tell you my two
Yes.
biggest questions are, can you have dogs inside, and do you have the games? And I'm like,
Yep.
we can't have dogs inside because we have food, but they can come outside when we're open outside.
And we're trying to figure out if we can sequester a space and lock it down in a way that is dog friendly.
It's hard.
we
with the
have-
health department.
Inside
Right.
is not a thing that
we have 2 dogs,
But-
and, we want to be able to bring them in. But
Totally.
I think Noble Funk, we have the games is probably a
That's
decent
right.
just,
Just put that on Instagram. The
Like,
games
and the
are here.
bunnies.
And the
That's
bunnies.
it. That's the
bunnies.
tweet.
Yeah.
So we're basically Arby's now. Heard.
Exactly.
Heard.
NBs.
Nihilist Noble Funk.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, that's awesome, guys. Thank you all so much for taking the time. If anybody listening hasn't taken the time to go visit Noble Funk, go pay you guys a visit. You guys are open most days of the week, right?
4 days right now,
Yeah.
but we will be opening Sundays soon. Right now, we're just doing Wednesday through Saturdays, 4 to 10, and we're going to sort of ramp up slowly. And then maybe one day we'll have lunch because our pizza guys are doing great. Shout out to the
love that.
food.
We did not talk about the food,
Yes.
but it is
Pizza.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Shout out to our chefs. They're doing fabulous.
the-
I'm really excited.
Dough they use,
They're making it
money.
us.
That's
They're
awesome.
making it
Money.
us.
Yeah. Our chef Brian has been doing pizza for a very long time.
Mhm.
He he opened one of the pizza joints in Germantown
Oh, nice.
that cannot be named.
Shall not be named.
Shall not be named.
Shall not.
The Voldemort of pizza. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say that. Voldemort pizza joint in Germantown.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we just, for us, it's, can we make it better? Little touches. Tonight we have a beef stroganoff pizza, and we'll have it all
Oh, wow.
weekend.
That's
Nice.
I saw that when I walked in there earlier.
I love
Yeah, so
novelty
that's special.
pizzas.
We
man.
we are
Cool.
doing Chinese New Year's next week.
Heck yeah.
So
We got some Chinese heritage in the family.
yeah,
so-
I did a lychee blonde today.
Oh, that'll be great.
So that's going to get interesting.
How about
and
those?
then-
Did you do the fruit or did you get a puree?
oh no, I went to Viet Hoa
Nice.
and bought 2 cases of lychees and then
Sticky
just
fingers.
blended them up.
Oh yeah.
That's
chopped
awesome.
them and went crazy and then threw them in a brink. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully it tastes good.
I can't wait to
But
try that.
it's a one-off. We'll
It
see
won't
what
be
happens.
January anymore, so
Yeah.
you can drink.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, obviously so.
We are going to have a crab ragoon pizza,
Oh, wow.
Oh man.
Asian rice noodle salad, and they're getting a little wild. We'll see what happens. You know, we're talking about for the vegetarians, a mapo tofu.
That sounds amazing
pizza
too.
Oh my goodness.
With flash fried tofu on it. We'll see what happens. Maybe a little spicy.
My mouth is literally watering right now.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
So, you know.
Well, congratulations on your success. And I know it's been, I mean, opening a brewery in normal times is tough. And you guys have certainly been through the ringer.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. We've been doing this for
it's been a while.
years.
Yeah.
Well, it's been in planning for 10 years.
Like,
That's amazing.
I kept having to check that box, brewery and planning. It's been a long time of doing that.
Yeah.
Dominique, I feel like I've bothered you on LinkedIn or email
I know.
every
Michael's
other week
like,
for the last 2 years.
When's it happening?
That's the number one question.
Oh my
It's like,
God,
when are you opening? When are you opening? When are you opening?
I kept telling my friends, like, I promise we really are opening a brewery. Like, it's not a lie. It's not, like,
and things were
the
happening
same
every
story.
week. But like with COVID, when, you know, 2x4s went to $9 a piece.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
You know, plywood was like $70 a sheet. You're like, what is going on?
Do you need plywood to open a brewery?
A little bit.
More than you think.
I don't know. I've never opened one. I have no idea.
You gotta frame stuff
Plywood is
out.
kinda-
Where do you think that bar comes from?
Yeah.
Concrete. You have a concrete bar, don't you?
What do you think the concrete's on? Why are you asking these questions?
I'm not an industrial design engineer.
But yeah, no, that's just another wrench in the spokes that just is like, ugh.
But to be honest, you know, one thing we are very happy that we weren't open before.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. Like, that's the most heartbreaking thing is that a lot of places were staffed up heavy and then had to lay a bunch of people off.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just finding your legs, just getting it
Right.
going, and it just all gets kicked out from
And
under
so,
you.
like, at least with like being not open during COVID, we crafted our model to be as lean as possible.
Yep.
You know, everybody asks, are you hiring brewers? And I said, well, I'm actually doing almost all of the work as long as possible.
Yeah, that's
So
my
I
philosophy.
can't do it
Right.
anymore.
Yeah.
And then I got to train somebody who hopefully has an idea what the hell they're doing. And they're, you know.
It's your baby, too. It's hard to, like,
Exactly. Hard to let
yeah.
go.
Yeah.
I
Well,
give
that's
it
very
3 months. You're gonna hire someone.
We've already got some of the staff are helping out a little
Yeah,
bit.
they're helping clean tanks, but
Yeah.
it's still like, you know, they still don't quite get it. So, you know.
Well, Louisville's got a great just community of brewers coming up, too.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
like,
Absolutely.
home brewers who want to, you know, work part-time cleaning kegs and kind of learning their systems and stuff. And then they'll go on to open up their brewery in 10 years and stuff. That's how the community grows.
And I know we're trying to wrap this up right now, but what I do really appreciate, though, is that
Prematurely called it.
you did.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But
We were talking.
We're still drinking. We're still here.
The rest
It's
of
fine.
us are talking.
So one thing that I'm really finding interesting,
Try this.
try this beer that we're opening right
It's
now.
about to get
One thing I'm finding interesting is that, you know, Louisville, we're growing, we're emerging, we're making strides, and historically we were pretty cool. But I don't
Is
know.
that the story that's
No, there were like hundreds
Yeah,
of breweries.
yeah.
Historically,
One of
we
the
were
top.
awesome. Yeah.
Like there were like 6 breweries per neighborhood.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
Now, granted, there were only like 6 neighborhoods. So it's like 100 breweries per, 6 neighborhoods.
All right, but now finally, okay, we have 20 plus breweries
Yeah,
in the city, in the metro. It's cool now that after so many years, they're starting to train people.
Yeah.
And then these assistant brewers are finally going off to start their own
Yes.
thing. So we're starting to get that, not in the same way, but the ancestry line that you see
yeah.
Kentucky bourbon.
It's huge.
Sure.
That you see like, oh, this person used to work here. They're
Right.
connected to this
Yeah.
brewery, and it goes down the line. We're now, I want to say, a couple generations, quote unquote.
Yeah, I
Out.
completely agree.
And I mean, like you see that in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Huge.
You see it in Lexington, even
Yes.
from the Alltech influence.
Yep.
Like, that's why they
Alltech.
blew so quickly, you know?
Absolutely.
And so, like, yeah, I think.
And I'll key in that also diversity has
Yes.
not peaked. That's the wrong word for it, but it is
It's
steadily
finally happening.
Yeah.
risen
Mhm.
over the last 3 years of just getting other people involved and
Mhm.
interested in the scene and, enveloped in it. And
Yeah.
that's so cool.
And not
Yeah.
just in Louisville, but in Kentucky in general. And, shout out to the Guild for having like a D&I initiative
Yep.
happening finally. And that's just to say that that's finally the brewing space that we're in. Like people are
People
finally
are
starting
able to
get
think about
interested.
it. It's kind of come into a maturity, or at least an adolescence of
Yeah.
like us being like an actual player.
Well,
Right.
Kentucky being like a, historically like late
Oh,
state
yeah,
to
exactly,
everything
exactly.
else. Like, I feel like we're
Well, I
maybe
mean,
a
to be
little
honest, Alabama
longer.
didn't have homebrewing till like 2015. So, I mean,
Well, they did. It was just in the bathtub.
yeah,
Like,
and completely illegal.
You're right, exactly. Yeah.
Can I ask,
Fantastic.
for both of you.
You can ask.
Yeah, exactly. I will ask.
We may not answer.
For both of you, are there any breweries that come to mind that inspire you for your current venture with Noble Funk?
Absolutely. 100%. To be honest, I get more inspired by local community than I do by the big guys. Yeah, I mean, we all grew up drinking, I grew up drinking craft beer, when I was old enough to drink.
What was craft beer at that time?
So
you led into it.
To be perfectly honest,
David is 12, by the way.
I'm 5.
Okay, so I'm early 30s, and when I was
30,
right, when I was becoming around,
we drink the same beer.
When I was coming around 18 to 20, my parents started getting into Belgian beer, and they did a lot of.
I do not have that same story.
And so what happened was, my parents would go to Belgium every year with Sergio.
Oh
and drink beer. So they brought us along, and luckily the legal age in Europe is considerably lower.
No, but the first time we went, we were legal. The first time I went.
So you all went on
we were
Sergio
legal.
trips?
One. He went on a couple. I didn't one.
Podcast then.
I was like,
Let's just say it's an interesting experience.
How's Phantom?
Be fed. It's fabulous. It's
Unreal.
Great. It's really cool.
Danny?
Danny's phenomenal. And the thing is, the best part about being there is he goes through boxes of unlabeled bottles. He's like, I don't know what I put in this one. And he just opens it up. And some of them are the worst things it's basic, but the thing is, that conditioned me before we moved to Chicago to actually enjoy Malort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He puts weird ass crap in his beer, but it's good. And then some of them are phenomenal. I met Urbane from Destruza.
Oh, he was fantastic. He was hilarious.
6 times. He never remembers me because we get so wasted every single breath.
Okay, so for future
he remembers my wife though.
No. He came to Louisville and I saw him and I was wearing a big hat or something at one of the beer festivals. He was like, "Oh, hello." Yeah. And then I was like, "Yeah, remember that time?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "You probably don't."
So for future reference, we're opening every podcast interview with, "Have you been to Belgium?"
Yeah.
Because then that's going to turn the conversation to a completely different one.
Everybody's like, "Oh yeah, what was Sergio?"
Yeah, but
was
that's the thing.
fantastic.
You start drinking different things. You start drinking craft beer across Europe. That's like this growing movement, and that's the hard thing about being in college is, everybody wants to drink Bud Light and Keystone. And, we're sitting there with 3 Floyds, one of my best friends is
a Floyd?
Well, no. lived in, Maryville, Cherville. So we had Dark Lord every year we had verticals of Dark Lord. That we were just, chugging because, why not?
You could.
Very good soy sauce.
Yes. Yes.
That was what got me into
soy
homebrewing back in
sauce.
the day. We couldn't get, couldn't even probably find a Hefeweizen in Lexington at that time.
Right.
So it's like, you can make it.
Yep.
Yeah.
But, again, so the breweries that inspire me locally. We saw Nick from GB. He came in today. Phenomenal guy. Larry from 1020 is awesome.
He's great.
We saw Joel yesterday. He was,
Great.
He came in. Just met the Scout and Scholar guys. They're awesome. They're so
Great.
cool.
Yeah.
We talked about Florida because he's a Florida guy.
He's from Florida.
Yeah.
One that I'm super excited about is Shipping Port.
Yeah.
She's
great.
so
Yep.
good.
Yep.
And I just want to root for her. I want her to have a system so that she can just rock it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know contracting's hard.
Yeah, and their situation was all good to go, and then like you said, it was COVID, and just kind of
Everything changes.
decisions had to be adapted.
But the thing is, she's still putting beer out.
And she got open.
She's got a
Yeah.
cool,
She's building
fun
a
space.
community.
It's comfortable. We like it.
Yep.
It's one of my favorite lunch spots in the city.
Yeah.
because you can get in out beer, $10
And
done.
And it's good for the city. And not to knock anybody that's opened up within a half-mile radius of New. I don't mean that. But that part of the city is underdeveloped. And for them to get a brewery in Portland is so important for everybody. Even if you don't drink beer and you don't even know Shipping Port exists, that opening there 6 months ago or whatever it's been, so important.
Yeah.
Well, but it's also, it's great to have somebody, I don't want to hark on it and I don't want to be that guy, but it's great to have somebody who knows how to make beer.
100%.
Are you standing Amelia right now?
No. I'll stand Amelia.
I will too, actually.
She's good.
She is very good.
And
She really cares,
that's
too.
what we need. The thing that I'm most excited about I mean, Spencer at Atrium, great beer.
I think
The guys at Chimera, awesome. I mean, everybody has been so great. And the thing I like about Louisville more than anything, and it's something I couldn't say in Chicago, was that everybody makes at least 1 to 2 to 3 good beers.
Right.
Some things aren't my taste, some things aren't my style, but everybody makes something that's good.
Yeah.
And that's important.
It is super important because, like, when people come out of town, they talk to me. Not that I'm any kind of authority. I'm just, I'm around, whatever.
You're around.
You exist. You look like you would know about brewing.
Yeah. You're authority.
You're on the spectrum.
No. Thank you. That's a callback.
I'm here and I'm here.
But anyway, someone will say, like, what's your favorite brewery? And I'm like, and for what?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And they're like, what do you mean for what? And I'm like, what do you want to drink? What would you like to have? I can recommend things based on this or this, and that's kind of the way I view it, because I don't see one brewery to rule them all, know, and that's just not how anything works.
I would like to add a category to that though, and that is best brewery for putting greens.
I think
So
that's
far.
That's amazing.
Winners.
So
and
far.
for wooden alligators.
Yeah.
That I did.
And we'll see what happens with the bunny. I mean, we might get a full miniature golf setup with these bunnies. We don't know what that's going to happen. She won't tell us.
I've done bunny golf.
Okay,
Yeah.
so when I told someone about the putting green, they said they have mini golf, and I said no, they have a putting green. They said mini golf would be really cool. I'm so happy that they have mini golf. I said, no, there's a putting green. They said I can't wait to do mini golf at Noble Fun.
Mini golf and laser tag. We're going to figure it out. All right.
My mom was like, because we have this like
We'll build construction
5,500 square
I love
feet
it.
area, and she was like looking up these places that did like indoor mini golf, and she was like, that would be super cool. I don't think we have the space for that. But,
I think you have the space.
well,
We'll figure it out.
I went to a place in Denver over the last weekend called Urban Putt Putt, and it was literally just an old spaghetti factory that was converted to an inside putt putt course.
That's awesome.
That's
It was
amazing.
18 holes. It was incredible.
Beautiful.
It's also an old spaghetti factory.
Also, old
Yeah.
spaghetti factory. They still have the trolley.
Yeah.
I was gonna say those buildings are usually cool.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, when you get a hole in one, do you get a spumoni? Or
That sounds cool.
Oh man, that would be great. That's what you.
Ugh.
All right. Well,
Anyway.
I think that's
But
all we
actually,
have.
one thing I did want to say was, coupled with everything that we've already said, I'm really excited for the next wave of brewers to come in.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think the more knowledge that we have in this space, the more we can walk people through it and make it less scary. Because
100%.
I started on igloo the big 10-gallon igloo coolers with false bottom and all that jazz.
Yep.
And extract in a pot and things like that. And the thing is, a lot of people start looking at big systems and big price tags. And realistically, you don't need that to make good beer. You just need to want to make good beer, have, an okay palate, and be able to learn and communicate.
Yep.
And so the more people we get here that know what the hell's going on, the more good beer we get to enjoy.
Yeah, I completely agree.
How do we do that?
Education, conversation, letting people be able to experience the
Brewery
the behind the
tours.
scenes. Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Tours are
But the thing is, because you'll always have somebody come on a tour and they'll be like, well, "What's this? What's this? What's this?" And and they know a little bit about beer. They may brew on a pot, a pot system, and then you get the guys who are building their psycho brew systems. That they're getting 1-barrel scout tank systems and things like that, and they're all looking at 20-barrel systems. And you're like, you don't need that. You just need to make beer regularly.
Yep. Figure out what you like. Focus on consistency. Learn about yeast and all that.
Learn about
good stuff.
recipes.
Yep.
Because homebrew recipes are so much more complex than normal brewery recipes. That was the nice thing about Belgium, is that I started coming back and trying to homebrew, and a homebrew recipe for a Belgian quad has 40 ingredients.
Right.
But they're so laissez-faire about it. They're like, just some of this and
Right.
some of that. And they're like, we know where it's going to end up at. It's
Right, and
fine.
then-
Are there cobwebs next to it? Good.
Yeah.
And then you go to Belgium, and they're like, oh yeah, we use 2 malts and this sugar that comes in this drum.
It's almost over-engineered for homebrewer status.
Yeah. And the homebrewers are using 2 specks of this and 3 specks of that. and to try and build flavor. And
I can always tell when somebody comes in with one of Nick Lander's Gordon Biersch recipes because they'll always ask him and he'll put it through his beersmith and he'll, print out a 5-gallon version. It's like 0.0003 grams of, and I'm like, are you serious?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Come on.
But hey, at least
Exactly.
they're asking.
And they're learning. And
The thing is, I mean,
Interested.
he's an interesting guy, but the beers that he likes to make, he makes well.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he going to make you hazy IPAs all the time? Absolutely not.
And if he does, he's going to complain like the
He's
entire
going to bitch
time.
about it. Yeah.
Well, he might have a stroke, and you never know.
I've always said the biggest problem about drinking his beers is the parking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to get down there, but once you do, you're happy.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. And I mean, even with them selling and like the whole GB like company going under, I'm happy that it still
is.
exists.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. Awesome.
The rice lager is pretty damn good.
Yeah. Thanks, Highwire.
Thanks,
Mountain
Highwire.
Water.
We have to talk about how we're at least
Promo for
once
Highwire.
per episode.
Absolutely.
Once again, thank you all so much for coming on the
Cheers.
pod.
Thank you.
And we look forward to drinking many more beers with you guys
Yeah,
over
we'll
the years.
pop in and bring beers
Yeah,
in.
absolutely.
Please
yeah.
do that.
We may not say anything. We
We'll
may
just,
just
we'll just
ring-
like run
ring-
in, like break in at 8:30 and be like, hey.
Hell yeah, it happens more frequently than you would think around here, actually. So, one of the fringe benefits. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. And to everybody listening, thank you. To everybody on our Patreon, thanks for your support. And we'll see you guys again next
You
year.
guys have an OnlyFans? What's going on?
Basically, it's
Yeah,
the OnlyFans,
basically.
but it's
Do you get like the branded pencil?